Hi, welcome. My name is Tammy Charles. I am an instructor here at Ultimate Medical Academy, and I teach student success and healthcare management. In this lecture, we are going to discuss how to discover self-motivation and harness it to help us reach our goals. So we'll discuss how to develop some strategies to increase your motivation so you can reach your goals. We'll define motivations and talk about the different types of motivations. We'll also about creating a life plan and some visualization activities. Creating personal affirmations are a good way to sustain your motivation. And we'll also talk about the connection actually between motivation and attitude. So, why does it matter to recall your motivational factors? It helps you refocus and recommit. So, for a lot of us, we're in situations where we've probably, we've been in school for a couple of years, or we've been in a job for a couple of years, or we've done things. And sometimes we need to remind ourselves that we need to sustain our motivation so that we can remain committed to the things that we're called to. So the reason why we focus on our motivational factors is because we want to stay on track to achieve our educational, professional, and personal goals. And sometimes just asking yourself, why am I doing this, is enough to help us recommit and refocus to the things that we're called to. So when we think about discovering self-motivation, there's a difference between how successful students capture and harness motivation and how struggling students don't allow themselves to utilize motivation as an energizing force to achieve their goals. So successful students create an intentional inner motivation to keep themselves focused. They create a plan, and that plan guides them and helps them determine what kind of reality do they want to create for their lives. It enhances commitment to their goals as well. Struggling students have little sense in passion and drive, which causes them to not always do well in their classes. They don't submit assignments, and it keeps them from really excelling in the areas that they're called to excel to. They tend to invent their lives as they live them rather than really creating a more intentional strategy around what kind of life they want to create. And they tend to wander aimlessly from one activity to another. Again, there's a lack of intentionality. And when you don't fully know what you want to do, it decreases your motivation. Motivation is all about that energizing force, focusing you on the goals at hand. So it gives you a sense of direction and intention and focus so that you're able to reach your goals. And like I mentioned earlier, motivation is an energizing force behind our behaviors. They inform our behaviors, right? So say, for example, my goal is to learn how to cook a new recipe, right? I'm going to put my energy behind cooking that new recipe so that I can achieve that goal. Another goal could be getting my degree from UMA. So what I do is I put my energy into my assignments. I put my energy into my discussions. I engage with my instructors. I engage with my advisors, because we all know that those behaviors lead to success. And it gives our behavior direction and persistence so that even when, because we have those days when we don't necessarily feel motivated, our goal is to constantly be persistent and to ensure that our energy has direction for us to reach our goals. Now, there's two kinds of motivation. There's intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation arises from within you as the individual. So sometimes, you're doing a complicated crossword puzzle, or you're learning a new song, or you're learning to write a poem, and you're just doing it because you feel that sense of self-gratification. There's a pride in that feeling of accomplishment. Extrinsic motivation are those that arise from outside the individual. And usually we're doing certain things so that we can be seen or known through rewards or trophies, money, and social recognition and praise. One thing to really remember is asking yourself, why am I doing certain things? Now, if you say, for example, when it comes to getting a degree, you may say, I am intrinsically motivated. I just want to get a degree because it will bring a sense of pride and self-gratification. Or you can say, I want to get a degree because I want to be able to take that certificate and put it on my wall, right? So asking yourself what motivates you, if it's intrinsic, if it's extrinsic, but knowing that for yourself is important, because again, it'll give you direction for how to pursue the kinds of behaviors that will lead to your goals. Now, motivation requires three different principles or pieces because the impact of motivation only happens when these three areas are present. Activation. So it is the decision to initiate a behavior, such as enrolling in school. So if you're one day, you're sitting at home and you're like, man, I want to get a degree in the medical field, and you decide to research in schools and you saw, wow, Ultimate Medical Academy, I'm going to enroll. You activated that particular action in order for you to do that particular, to help reach that particular goal, which is of enrolling for school. Persistence is the continued effort towards reaching your goals, even though obstacles may exist. So you enrolled at UMA, but now you're trying to determine, how do I manage my time? I have family, or I got sick, or I have a lot more projects at work. So persistence gives us the continued effort and commitment to reach our goals, even with all that's happening around us. Intensity is the concentrated vigor that goes into pursuing a goal. So you're putting in extra hours, extra time, you're putting in effort on your discussions and on your assignments, all to make sure that you get a good grade in your classes so that you can reach your goals. So when you're motivated, it's important to activate, it's important to be persistent, but it's also to the intensity of that energy behind motivation is what keeps us moving forward. And it turns those ideas into reality. Now, the formula for motivation as it relates to education is V equals value placed on education, E equals expectation for success, M represents motivation. So the value, so if you place a high value on education and you expect to succeed, you're highly motivated. Now, if you don't place a high value on education and you don't really think you're going to necessarily succeed, it decreases your motivation. So when you think about, if you're asking yourself, how motivated am I to achieve my degree here at UMA? Ask yourself, what value do you place on education? And I'm assuming that you place a high value on education because you're here, but what are your expectations for success? Do you believe that you will actually succeed? And if you don't, we'll talk about what are some ways to address that. Now, when we think about roles and goals, it's connected to motivation. Roles are the activities which you devote large amounts of your times. And what's interesting is behind every role is a motivation to accomplish some sort of a goal. So a lot of us are friends, we're parents, we're employees, and 4 to 7 major life roles are manageable. So when we think about your goals, what goals do you have for each of your roles? And how does that relate to how you keep yourself motivated to excel in those areas? Because school is important, but as we all know, there's other areas of our lives that we want to succeed in. So what does that look like for you? When we think about setting goals, to be truly motivating, your goal needs to have 5 qualities. It needs to have a specific date, when you want to reach that goal. What are the set of goals that are achievable? What is it that you want to achieve? It needs to really be personal to you, as personal as possible. It's one thing to say, I want to get a degree because I want to make my family proud. That's personal to you, right? It could be personal, but even more personalized is, what does it mean to you personally? It needs to be positive, stated as what you want to do, and it needs to be specific. It needs to be measurable. The DAPS rule is quite similar to what you've probably learned around the SMARTer goal framework, but it's another way of thinking about how can you make sure that your goals are not just specific, measurable, attainable, or timely, but that it motivates you to reach your goal. So using this framework is a good way to determine how truly motivating your goals really are. Now, when we think about motivation, one of the things that can really motivate us is when we see the big picture. When I think about even my own life, I think about everything that I do every day. Every day I do something, whether it's around teaching or connecting with my community or connecting with my friends. And every action that I do is a part of a greater life plan that I have for myself. And so when you have a big picture of what you want your life to look like, everything that you do on a regular basis, you feel motivated because you know that one day you're going to be able to achieve getting that degree, getting that home, building that family, all those pieces. So having a life plan is very important because they motivate us to stay consistent and persistent with the behaviors and activities that lead to that greater life story that we have for ourselves. So your dreams are motivators. They span across all your life roles as a friend, as a sister, as a wife, as a husband, as an employee, all those pieces. And the majority of people do not have a singular guiding dream. We are complex people. We have different life roles, and each of those life roles, there are dreams within each of them. But those dreams are what motivate us to be the best versions of ourselves. So, say for example, your life role is a college student. You're currently in college, and in your long-term goals that stand alone and or support your dream, for your short-term goals are stepping stones that bring you closer to the achievement of a long-term goal or dream. So your long-term goal can be, I want to get my degree at UMA, but your short-term goals are, I'm going to complete my assignments on time. I'm going to go to the tutor's office if I need help. I'm going to connect with my teacher regularly. I'm going to connect with my advisor. I'm going to make sure I get adequate sleep. I'm going to manage my time. All those pieces represent short-term goals to help you reach that long-term goal, which is achieving your degree. And it's important to have balance of short-term and the long-term, because long-term is maybe a year, a couple of years from now. Short-term is day by day, month by month, week by week. And the goal is to make sure that you're constantly remaining focused. The more focused you are, the more you're capable of achieving your goals. Now, commitment is important. Commitment is an unbending intention to succeed. And commitment happens it's kind of connected to the concept of persistence. Even when obstacles come your way, even when things sometimes get in the way of you reaching your goals and dreams, you stay committed to the long term. So one of the ways to really help ourselves remain committed is we program our brains to look for solutions. So say, for example, you may have a child who's sick, or you may have a family member who's sick, or you may have to take some more hours at work because of financial situations. So instead of dwelling just on the problems, how can we program our brain to think of solutions? Who can we ask for help? Can I ask my teacher for an extension? All of those things help us really think through how can we remain committed. Now, motivation surges up from a commitment to a passionately held purpose. Now, one of the ways to remain committed to ourselves, to our calling, to the people around us, is thinking about what our purpose is. Purpose is a wonderful catalyst and a powerful agent for helping us really think about the big picture of our lives and how all of our actions that we take every day fits into that. So commitment is all about, again, making sure we look for solutions despite challenges, and then motivation surges up from a commitment when we're passionate about the purpose that is ahead of us. And one way to really, if you're trying to find out how do I refocus in order to be remotivated to what I want to do, is sometimes just take some time to visualize your ideal future. So if you were to close your eyes right now and think of, what does my ideal future look like? Relax is the first step. The most positive impact is achieved through deep relaxation. Give your body time to just rest. Use present tense. Imagine that you're experiencing the success now. A great way to do this is through affirmations and intentions. Use all the five senses. How do you feel in that moment? What do you see? What do you smell? What do you taste when you're visualizing your ideal future? And feel all the feelings, right? What is that feeling like when you walk across the stage for graduation? What is that? What do you hear in the background? Do you hear people clapping for you? What do you smell? What is it like to be in that space? What will it be like when you start your new job? So if you can feel, the more you can feel and visualize, the more you are motivated to reach your goals. This is actually a really great psychological activity for you to do, is whenever you feel like you're down or you're like asking yourself, why am I doing this? Take just a couple of minutes to visualize, what does it look like for you to achieve your goals? And the more you do that, it will re-engage that motivation and your commitment to your goals. The other piece is to get more hopeful. Hope is a positive motivational state. There are some times when we're going through a really difficult time in our lives that we really need to think about, how can I have hope in this situation? The situation that I'm going through right now, it won't last forever. And it's a great way for you to refocus and finding multiple paths to achieve your desired goals. And agency thoughts are beliefs that we can improve our lives despite what we're facing. I think this picture is a really good depiction of that. It's kind of like the sun is rising. And sometimes, there's one of my favorite sayings is, weeping endures for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And sometimes, we go through dark moments. When we're trying to reach our goals, it's not easy. It's not easy at all, but as long as we're allowing hope and our pathway thoughts and our agency thoughts to guide us, we're more likely to reach our goals. So if we want to get more hopeful, here's a couple of steps. If you're asking yourself, how do I increase hope in my situation? The first place is sit down and really establish clear and achievable goals. Use that DAPS method. Now determine what are some ways, what are some methods, action steps will you use to reach your goals, and give yourself flexibility. Use this time to really create and visualize. Maybe ask someone to join you, a mentor, a sister, a brother, or someone who you trust to join you in that process. Visualize overcoming those obstacles. Give yourself time to really dream about what it looks like to create those inspiring outcomes, and identify what may get in the way of you reaching your goals and what do you plan to do to address them. So if you're like, you know what, I'm about to start 2 new classes rather than 1, what are my goals? How will I manage my time? Ask for help, build up a backup plan. So things that we've talked about in this course. Visualize you succeeding and getting an A in the course. And then think about, wow, if I have to pick up more hours in my job, then that might be an obstacle. So I'm going to ask my friend to babysit my child. And those are ways for you to be proactive about your backup plans so that when those situations arrive, you're not hopeless and you're able to address those situations when they come up. Now, self-motivation at work is very powerful. So if you think about self-motivation in the context of your job, it leads to high job satisfaction. You're able to enjoy your job more. It's a greater incentive for you to continue to grow and learn and build new skills. And it actually leads to better performance, which actually can lead to more promotions. So when we think about self-motivation at school, it does the same thing. You're satisfied with your schooling. You want to continue to learn. You get A's. In the workplace, and as you're transitioning in your career, self-motivation is still a powerful energy for you to leverage so that you can achieve your career goals as well. So think of these things as you're thinking about how can you remain motivated in your job. Intrinsic motivation at work, we see this through our career choices. So intrinsic motivation is really essential to our success, right? Our inner experiences are the source of our intrinsic motivation, because we want to feel like we're competent. We want to have fun while we work. We want to feel like we belong. And it also helps us develop a clear sense of purpose. When we have a job, the extrinsic motivation factor is maybe higher pay, right? Which is a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that. It could be the title that comes with it, the notoriety that comes with it. That's extrinsic. Intrinsic motivation has everything to do with the values and the life purpose that you have and choosing something that really means a lot to you. So you want to determine how can you connect your purpose, your values to your career. And when you're able to do that, your motivation magnifies. So something to really think about when you're choosing a particular role. And this slide shows some tech tips for self-motivation. So there are some really, really good tech tips and tools you can actually use in order to increase your self-motivation. There's 42 goals. There's a website called stick.com. DoSomething.org is really good. Hay House, thinkup.me. And one thing I will say that I do a lot is I love to write down my goals. So even if you had just a sheet of paper or a journal that you can use, and just write down, what kind of life do you want to create for yourself? What does it look like for you to succeed? And just write that down. And even when you do like a visualization exercise, after you've done your visualization exercise, a really good tool for you to use is write down how you felt. Write down what thoughts came to your mind. What was it like to experience those feelings? Because whenever you have a hard day, when you have a day when you feel like giving up, because it happens, when we feel like giving up, that means we have no motivation, right? So, a good way to refocus, recommit, and rebuild our motivation to help us reach our goals is by writing down something that reminds us of what it means to actually get to the place that we're trying to go. Those are very also just simple tools beyond technology that you can use to reach your goals. Now, a really good way to keep yourself motivated too is writing personal affirmations, right? What personal qualities do you believe that will be important for you to reach your goals, right? Will it take tenacity? Will it take commitment? Will it take creativity, due diligence? What are some things that you think will be important? And write those things down. Think of the short-term and long-term goals you have for your education. What personal qualities do you believe that you'll need to accomplish them? It'll take being disciplined. It'll take having fun and being creative. It'll take managing your time. So what are some qualities you think that will be important, and write them down? And after you've written them down, create affirmations that connect with those particular qualities. Like, I am a smart student, or I am creative and I can, I can complete my assignments and discussions by leveraging my creativity. So when you write those affirmations down, they build confidence and they help you become motivated to do the work, because you feel affirmed in your capabilities. Now, what's interesting is I love how the book talks about during our childhood, a person's judgment of their personal qualities is based on mostly what others say about us, right? So usually when we're little, people will look at us and just from their external experiences with us, they'll say, "Oh wow, you're so smart," or "Oh wow, you're more artistic, but you're not really good at math," or people will say things about us based on what they see and based from their experiences with us. And so we tend to be continually to be influenced by our earliest interactions. And when we hear those voices, we think of them as internal self-talk. And so one thing to really remember is what was told to us when we were children doesn't necessarily, it can apply, but it may not always apply, especially the negative things that were said to us as children. So as adults, we can constantly choose what we believe. Just because someone said something about us when we were children, when we were in high school, does not necessarily mean that those things remain to be true. So personal affirmations gives us the tools to help us rebuild or reframe our mental experiences and uproot the negative things that were spoken over us, and to accept the positive things that we believe of ourselves. Very, very important. You want to also make sure that you claim your desired qualities. So an affirmation statement is a claimed desired quality, and you're saying it as if you already have them in abundance. So you're talking about your affirmations in the present moment. I am bold, joyful, generous, smart, brilliant, all those pieces. It's not like you'll say, "Oh, I will be." No, you have these qualities inherently. The goal is for you to extract them from within and believe them that they already exist within you. I'm confident and creative. You may not necessarily feel confident, but the way you live your affirmation is, first of all, you have to repeat it. You're not lying to yourself. You're disputing your inner critic. So remember, you're not lying to yourself. You're disputing your inner critic. And align your words with deeds. So if you're confident, if you say, "I am confident," align that with actions that relate to you being confident as well. Some of the strategies for you to increase your self-motivation is adjust your goals to focus on what really matters to you. So really think about, what are your goals? And the goals that you have set, do they relate to what you want to do and who you want to become? If they don't, then maybe rethink those goals, right? If you're tackling something that is just too big or too overwhelming, break it up into smaller steps. Think about how to break them up so that you're able to achieve them in shorter bursts and shorter period of time. And that actually helps with motivation. Really improve your confidence. And you can actually improve your confidence through affirmations, right? remind yourself about what you've achieved in the past. And one of our discussions in this class, we talk about what have you done in the past that can remind you of what you're able to do today in the future. So if in the past you got your high school diploma, or in the past you were able to build up your family, in the past you were able to overcome a health struggle, use that as motivation to remind you that you are, just as you were capable of doing it back then, you can do it now. If there are things you feel insecure about, try working on improving those areas so that you feel more secure, you feel more capable and skilled in those jobs. So I can think of a time where when I first started out my career and I used to raise money, I did not feel confident about raising money. I've never done it before. But the more and more I did it, the more confident I got. And so sometimes you'll do things that you've never done, but it doesn't mean you're not good at it. You just have to continue to grow in those skills. Motivation is definitely connected to attitude. Our attitude influences our motivation. When we have a high positive attitude, we're more likely to achieve our goals. When we're negative attitude, that totally sucks the life out of motivation. So you want to make sure when you're trying to become motivated, I love this quote, fuel your passion. What are you fueling motivation with? And usually your attitude fuels your motivation. And again, these are the steps to really help, going back to that DAPS piece, is utilizing that framework, determining what are your action steps, how will you overcome those obstacles, and what are some ways you'll overcome challenges. So going back to what we talked about earlier, this is also related to attitude. Utilizing these pieces can help improve your attitude and also help improve your motivation. So as we close, here are some key takeaways I want you to have from this lecture. Motivation is about the energy directed towards certain outcomes. So really think about what energy are you putting behind your work, and let that be that force that holds you accountable to help you reach your goals. Affirmations helps us sustain our energy and direction towards our goals. Attitudes influence our level of motivation. Commitment is critical to us reaching our goals and our dreams. And it's not about how you always feel. Even though you may feel down, does not mean you can't reach your goals. So don't always let your feelings inform if you're capable of reaching your goals or not. Just allow yourself, use those affirmations, use those tools to help you grow in hope, because that's what's going to help you reach your goals. Thank you so much for listening to this lecture, and have a wonderful day.